far away is the U.S. from being able to achieve those kind of goals? As we take stock on this Earth Day, are we really on the right track?
Well, as you know, I'm wearing my green. So the first thing I need to say is Happy Earth Day. It is really exciting to be with you, and I'm glad to see President Biden out, because President Biden and Kamala Harris, their administration has done more for climate, more for clean energy, more for environmental justice, and more for our health and well-being than any administration has ever done. And it's exciting. And you know, today he's talking about a plethora of new ideas and programs and policies. And it's just exciting to see all this happen on Earth Day. But obviously, we need to do a lot. We've been working at this issue of climate change for some time, and we're going to be working on it for time well beyond when I'm around. And I just am excited to see so much good things happening and so much more commitment and so much more investment. Because look, nothing is more important than our future. Nothing is more important than keeping our kids and our grandkids healthy and keeping us all safe. And that's what tackling climate change is all about. That's what all of these programs and policies are really focused on doing. And it's exciting to see that all these new ideas keep coming up. And all of them are opportunities to save us money, to keep our families healthy, and keep us all safe. So this is a really good day. It's a good day.
Well, of course, Gina, the Biden administration has framed itself as the most climate-friendly administration of all time. But it's also true that the U.S. is producing more oil now than ever as well. How do you rationalize those two things?
Well, one of the things that the president did coming out when he first took office was to make it very clear that his job at that point was to make sure that we could stabilize our country. And he did that. He's moved beyond COVID. He's actually now progressing in terms of making sure that clean energy is actually competing effectively against fossil fuels. I mean, we found that last year was the best year of clean energy deployment ever. And so he keeps recognizing that, yes, we need to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels, but it's enormously important to do it in a way that continues to move as fast as we can, but do it in a way that nobody is left behind, in a way that we always have that clean energy to rely on, in a way that we can make sure that we're expediting the reduction in fossil fuels, but doing it in a way that makes sure that our communities are safe and we achieve the kind of climate reductions we need. But it's challenging. You know, we know that the fossil fuel industry isn't interested in that transition and certainly isn't investing in it. And so there's hard decisions that have to keep coming up, but I'm sure and I'm confident that the president can handle this, and he can do both reduce advance clean energy while we focus on transitioning away from fossil fuels.
Well, Gina, it's also true that only so much of this is in President Biden's control. There are billions of us that are sharing this planet. How much is what the U.S. is doing worth if China and India, some of these other big emitters, aren't necessarily pursuing it with the same vigor, shall we say?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we all get together and we go to climate conferences of the parties to make sure that there's a clear understanding that, yes, the U.S. is a large emitter. We have to understand that, and we have to address it. But this president and this administration is doing everything it can to make people understand that we are providing leadership here. Look, the Inflation Reduction Act was the biggest climate legislation that's ever been passed anywhere in the world, I would argue. I mean, it's $352 billion investment in clean energy, and it's working. We are seeing both red and blue states actually grabbing this money because this is our future. This is how we will not just address climate change, but make that shift to less expensive energy That's what this is all about. And so it's challenging, but every country needs to engage, including us. And I think one of the reasons why this administration is working so hard is we had to recoup and maintain and renew our leadership in this climate space. And I think they've done just that. So it's going to be a hard next 5 years, I think, maybe more. But right now, the U.S. is on track to actually reduce our climate emissions by 30% in 2030, and I'm sorry, in half by 2030, and by 2050, we have to get to net zero. We don't have time to waste, but we're going to have to bring the entire world together. And there's nothing that can do that better than showing leadership in our country again. And that's what's happening.
Well, I know the administration has tried to show leadership on solar, Gina. So an esoteric question. It's one that we've been watching here with reports that the White House is preparing to and is expected to remove a tariff exemption for two-sided, double-sided solar panels, which, as it turns out, are the vast majority of those imported. People are using two-sided panels whether they need to or not. And domestic manufacturers are calling for this exemption to create more domestic manufacturing. Should it happen?
Well, I'm going to let this administration make those difficult decisions while I sit in my home and contemplate these issues. But I think that the president, I think he showed you today with some of the announcements that he is making every single day on climate and clean energy, that he's investing $7 billion in grants so that we can actually move forward with solar for all. And this is about making sure that low-income communities have an opportunity to have solar on their homes. And this is a significant investment forward. He's looking at, advancing other efforts like the American Climate Corps. 20,000 young people are going to have an opportunity to learn about clean energy, to actually build skills, to even have access to federal government jobs, God help them. And all of this is exciting and it's new, and we're going to keep refreshing it. But you're absolutely right. There are big international issues. There are supply chain challenges. But we have managed so far to do what we needed to do to build clean energy over the past year. And we have had phenomenal success. And every decision they make in that White House, I am sure, having been there, is going to be about how to keep that success moving forward.